Dan Dickau here for Gonzaga Nation SI on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network. Well, the Sweet 16 is set. It's going to be an awfully good round of the NCAA tournament leading to the Elite Eight and the regional finals games to be played beginning Thursday to allow teams to play Saturday, and then Friday games to be played Sunday for a chance to go to the Final Four in Houston. I'm going to break down a little bit about each game, give you my predictions, and then in a separate pod, I'll go in depth on the Gonzaga UCLA matchup that will be in Las Vegas. But we'll start in the South. We have the 1 seed Alabama Crimson Tide against number 5 seed San Diego State. Most people nationally probably are expecting Alabama to roll here. Alabama, one of the best offensive teams in the country. They are also one of the best defensive teams in the country, rightfully so, being a 1 seed. Coach Nate Oates is doing a tremendous job in Tuscaloosa. I do think Alabama is going to win, but it's going to be a lot closer than people think. San Diego State, unbelievable on the defensive end, make you fight for absolutely everything. Coach Brian Dutcher does an unbelievable job of recruiting guys that want to defend, take pride in defending on the defensive end, and then go out and execute the defensive game plan. Think about this. They're an experienced older basketball team, but the transfer portal guys that they brought in, Darion Trammell from Seattle U, as well as Micah Parrish from Oakland in the Horizon League, both were all-league defensive team. Then you couple that with Lamont Butler, tremendous perimeter defender, Jaden Ledee, also a transfer with size and rebounding. And then Nathan Mensah, the reigning Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. There's no wonder they won the Mountain West, even though Boise State gave them a scare. No wonder they won the Mountain West title and the tournament title. Should be interesting to see the first time they've been to the Sweet 16 in a long time. I'm not surprised by it, but I do expect Alabama to move on. Should be good, though, a better game than most people think. The one problem for San Diego State is at times they can go through scoring droughts. They can struggle to score at times, but their defense is a constant. Also in the South region, 6 seed Creighton against Princeton. Tremendous matchup here. Creighton traditionally, or in recent years, has wanted to play really fast. They've got a great point guard, Ryan Nemhart, who allows them to play fast. Baylor Shireman is a good transfer who can do a little bit of everything. Kalkbrenner on the interior is the Division II to Division I transfer who gave them a lot of rim protection and interior defense against Princeton. Get this, head coach Mitch Henderson was part of two Princeton wins two Princeton games in the NCAA tournament as a player. Actually, yes, they were 2 wins, so 4 total games. But then he's been a part of both wins in Princeton basketball history over the last 30 years as a coach. Pretty impressive. The 15 seed knocking off Arizona and then taking care of Missouri. 2 contrasting styles. Arizona wants to push it, focus offensively. Missouri, one of the best defensive teams in the country. Their spacing and patience against the zone to break it, and then their ability to shoot it from beyond the 3-point line was great in their round of 32 game in Sacramento. I do unfortunately expect the ride to end for Princeton here, and I look for Creighton out of the Big East to move on. In the East, FAU, the 9 seed against Tennessee, the 4. FAU, unbelievable story. In the fact that they were 31-3 coming in the NCAA tournament. They were ranked as high as 19th during the course of the year. Had to kind of get through the Conference USA tournament title. And then in the first round, a big win in the 8-9 matchup before they took on everybody's favorite FDU in a monumental 16-9 matchup. So one of the underdogs was going to make it to the Sweet 16 in the East bracket after the round of 64 happened. But tremendous basketball team. They play fast. They play free on that end of the floor. Defensively, they'll change things up a little bit. Going against 4th seeded Tennessee, led by Rick Barnes, one of the best defensive teams in the country. Statistically, I believe they are the number 1 defensive team, UCLA being 2, Houston 3 right now, last I checked. But Tennessee is an example of what the transfer portal and the extra COVID year can do They are as experienced as you can imagine. Defensively, they're tremendous. They're physical. Every single cut, every single screen, every single shot is contested. Offensively, they can go through lulls, which is where I think it will ultimately trip them up. But I have Tennessee advancing in the East. The other game in the East, a 3-7 matchup, Kansas State and Michigan State. For Michigan State first, when you watch them play against Gonzaga in November on the aircraft carrier, you didn't think they were a great team, but with Tom Izzo, he was going to get the most out of his team. He does every single year, and he's done it once again. For the fact that they are a 7 seed advanced to the Sweet 16, kind of being that bright spot for the Big Ten right now, because Indiana's out, Purdue's out, you go on, Illinois is out, you all go on down the list. Big Ten is struggling once again in the NCAA tournament. Northwestern's out. But they face a 3-seed Kansas State led by first-year coach Jerome Tang, who's you want to look at culture, you want to look at joy in playing the game and coaching the game. That's these guys. Kansas State epitomizes that. Keontae Johnson, who had a medical issue when he was at Florida a little over a year ago, found a set of doctors at Kansas State, cleared him to play. He's been great, but I think the story really is their point guard, Marquise Noel, has been tremendous. 27 points, I believe 5 assists in the second round win. I've got Kansas State advancing to the Elite 8 in that one. In the Midwest, you got Houston, the 1 seed against number 5, Miami. Kelvin Sampson's got his team poised for another Final Four run. They're so good on the defensive end. They fight you for everything, just like Tennessee. They're big, they're strong, they're physical. Marcus Sasser, has battled a groin injury at the end of the AAC tournament, as well as the first 2 rounds, but he played a little bit in the second round game. If he's good to go, I really like Houston's chances. You've also got some tremendous potential in the front court. Jarace Walker, remember that name, freshman, who's probably going to declare for the NBA draft. Would not be surprised to see him go top 10 or top 12. He's that talented, and his future is that bright. But they face a Miami team out of the ACC, coached by Jim Larinaga, who surprised some people. They were one of the most active teams in the NIL, and that's paid off. Nigel Pack, coming over from Kansas State, has been solid for them, but the story is Isaiah Wong. Throughout the year, he's been really good. ACC Player of the Year. When's the last time you said that for a player from Miami, a player that's not from Duke, not from North Carolina, not from NC State? So terrific job in Miami to be a 5 seed and advance to the Sweet 16. But I'm going to have to go with Houston. I think they're just too good. There's too much defensive intensity. I've got Houston advancing. In the other regional semifinal in the Midwest, the 3 seed Xavier takes on 2 seed Texas. Texas, obviously, followed college basketball. It's an up and down crazy year. Started off opening their own home arena on campus, blew out Gonzaga by 20. Tempered some of those expectations for Gonzaga, accelerated some expectations from Texas. Chris Beard gets in some off-the-court issues as head coach. He's fired. Rodney Terry takes over as interim coach, and he's been great. Timmy Allen's bought in. Serge Bari Rice has bought in. Marcus Carr has bought in. Another experienced veteran physical basketball team on the defensive end. Offensively, they like to spread it around and get lots of guys involved and beat you in that way. But Xavier, Sean Miller's back after 1 year off from coaching after being fired from Arizona. He's completely changed his style. Before, he was kind of defensive oriented. He's really kind of had his hands on every single play in the half court offensively. Now he's playing out of concepts, letting guys go, giving them confidence, some freedom to just be themselves and play. And it's paid off. Suli Boom has been great. Jack Nungy's been great, just to name a couple of those guys. So in that 3-2 game, I actually have Texas, though, advancing to face Houston for a right to go to the Final Four in Houston, Texas. So that's going to be a heck of a matchup. In the West, in Las Vegas, first time Vegas has ever hosted games in the NCAA tournament. It's kind of a prep for the NCAA Final Four, which will be there in a couple of years. But in the 8-4 matchup, Arkansas versus UConn, Arkansas with their head coach, Eric Musselman, does an unbelievable job of quick transitions, quick adjustments from one game to the next due to his NBA background. He can kind of sift through a lot of the film and the video and figure out what he wants his team to focus on. And I think that was a big part of why they beat Kansas. They obviously beat them, but they had good production. They had good minutes. Jordan Walsh, Ricky Council 4, Nick Smith, Anthony Black, a really talented team that can score. They're willing to defend. They had some injury issues throughout the year, but now they're looking healthy. Now they're looking good going against the UConn team out of the Big East, coached by Dan Hurley, that a lot of people had after their tremendous start. I believe they started 11-0. After that start, many people started talking about them to a Final Four. Adam Sanogo is a really good interior player. This should be a heck of a game, and it's you go into this game, you're going to walk out with bruises. It's going to be that physical. There's going to be adjustments made by both coaches, but at the end, I've got Arkansas winning to head to the Elite Eight for the second year in a row. In the final game in Las Vegas in the West region to have a chance to advance and play Arkansas in the regional final is Gonzaga, the 3 seed, against UCLA. I will touch on this matchup in another deeper in-depth look at Gonzaga versus UCLA, but just to gloss over it real quick, Gonzaga UCLA has had some tremendous games over the years, especially in the NCAA tournament. 17 years ago, the Gonzaga, the UCLA game where Adam Morrison couldn't quite get things done. It wasn't necessarily his fault. UCLA just made a tremendous run down the stretch. You had the game in Houston where Kyle Wiltshire and those guys broke through, beating UCLA, and then everybody remembers the Final Four, Jalen Suggs hitting a half-court shot so Gonzaga could advance to play Baylor in the title game. I've got Gonzaga winning in that one, but it's going to be a heck of a game. As I mentioned, I'll break that one down a little bit more in depth on a separate pod. So for Gonzaga Nation SI, thanks for checking it out.